breakdown. Today for episode 1, I really want to talk about the 2018 WEG that's going to be held in Tryon, North Carolina, and the United States team's selection. What I really want to do is break down the team, the horses, the riders, show what their experience is and what I think that they can bring to the table. So let's break down the team right now. First, we have Phillip Dutton riding Z, who's a 10-year-old gelding owned by Thomas Tierney, Simon Roosevelt, Susan Lacey, Caroline Moran, and Ann Jones. Next on the team is Lauren Kieffer riding Vermiculus, who is Jacqueline Mars's 11-year-old Anglo-Arabian gelding. After that, we have Marilyn riding RF Scandalous, who's a 13-year-old Oldenburg mare owned by Jacqueline Mars. Next on the team, we also have Boyd Martin riding Tseterleg, who's Christine Turner's 11-year-old Tricator gelding. Really excited about this horse coming up. And last on the team here, we have Lynn Symansky, who's riding Donner, who's owned by the Donner Syndicate. It's a 15-year-old thoroughbred gelding, and these two have been together for a very long time. So my initial thoughts on what this team is that the United States formulated is interesting. So what you have here is you have the experience coming from Boyd Martin and Phillip Dutton. Lynn Symansky has also just been a very consistent rider for a very long time with this horse of hers, Donner. Marilyn Little is a winner. She wins most of the events that she's in, and she's the reason that we even made it to the Rio Olympic Games. Then we also have Lauren Kieffer, who's one of the top young prospects as riders in the United States, riding this young horse of hers, Vermiculus, that's really been shining recently, especially with the last showing at the 2018 Kentucky event. But what I think about this team is that I believe that they have a chance to win a medal. It's definitely not going to be easy. They have a lot of stiff competition with other countries. The Europeans are just dominant, especially the Germans, the British, the French. But I definitely think that with the home field advantage that they're going to have, only being a few hours away from where they all live and where they all train, I think that's going to have an advantage on the horses, and I definitely think that the riders will also be fresh for it as well. So I definitely think that they have a chance to come away with a strong showing. We'll just kind of just see how everything falls in place, but let's dig a little bit deeper in what we have. So first, let's just talk about Phillip Dutton. What more needs to be said? Phillip Dutton is one of the greatest event riders ever. He has competed in 6 Olympic Games, 6 World Equestrian Games since 1994, has competed in 276 international competitions and has won 24 of them. This man is a machine. Phillip Dutton is one of the most determined and consistent riders in eventing, especially on the cross-country phase. And if you want to learn how to ride cross-country, you have to watch Phillip Dutton ride. He's amazing. He saves terrible rides and turns them into great rides, most notably the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. Let's just break down a little bit of what Phillip Dutton has done in just the past few years here. So currently right now he is ranked 25th in the FEI World Rankings of eventing. That's partially in fact that he just hasn't been competing that much recently, but whenever he is, he's doing really well. So he's being able to stay within the top 25 of the world, I think, is pretty respectful. In 2016, like I said before, he went to the Rio Olympics. He was riding Mighty Nice, and he was third. He finished third with a miraculous save on cross country. But this is the first individual medal at the Olympics that he has won. You know, he's been on a lot of teams. He's won 2 team gold medals in the Olympics, but he's never quite earned anything for himself, individually at least. But let's take a look here at Z, the horse that he's riding. Just recently in the 2018 Kentucky 4-star, he finished 4th with a finish on dressage score of 33.7. You know, this horse is still a little green in terms of Phillip standards, but being able to finish at a 4-star, especially at Kentucky, one of the most challenging ones, and finishing on your dressage score with a sub-35 score, that's very impressive. Also recently they won the 2018 WEG test event, which was at Tryon. So I believe that that's probably a really good indication that he's going to have familiarity with the area. They've already won that. They're going to have confidence coming into it. And they have also placed top 5 in the past 6 of their 7 FEI starts. In a year, they've placed top 5 in all their FEI events. That's impressive. You know, so they're definitely going to be coming into this with a string of good competitions under their belts, and I definitely think that with the experience that Phillip Dutton has, that he'll be able to produce the best ride out of Z that he possibly can. Who's not going to be the most flashy horse in the World Equestrian Games. those German horses, those French horses, even horses on their own on the United States team, he's not the best horse, but I definitely think that Phillip Dutton is one of the best riders in the world. His world rankings doesn't quite reflect it, but he's just been in the top levels of the sport for so long that he can make anything happen. So what Phillip Dutton's role is on this year's WEG team is pretty similar to what his role has been for the past few teams that he's been on. Use your experience, go around clean cross country, and finish the event. And he's done a very good job of that recently. The last WEG, unfortunately, he had to withdraw with the horse that he was riding. But I definitely think that whenever he finishes events, he's always in the top. His third place finish in the Olympics, I believe, kind of confirms that. So that's what his job is. It's just to bring experience to the team and bring home a safe, clean ride to at least get into some sort of shot for a potential medal position on the show jump. Next on the team, let's talk about Boyd Martin, because you can't talk about Phillip Dutton without talking about Boyd Martin. These ex-Australians that changed nationalities to be American, compete with the Americans, they've just been a staple for the teams recently. So he's riding Tseterleg, and let's just go through some of his achievements, some of Boyd's achievements over the past few years. So in 2010, he was on the United States WEG team. He was riding Neville Bardos, it was in Kentucky, and they got 10th place and they finished on their dressage score. Now, it wasn't a pretty dressage test, but they finished on to finish in the top 10, which is incredible for the World Equestrian Games, especially for, Boyd at the time. He was a very talented rider, but he definitely wasn't anything too special. He wasn't like the Michael Young that he is today. In 2014, he also competed in WEG. He was riding Chamois. Then he finished 7th, and he was the only USA rider to even go clean on cross country. And I personally think that he had the best competition that he's ever had. That shows perfectly his determination and fearlessness of a rider that he is on cross country. He got after it. He was the only American that conquered the 2014 WEG course. In 2015, he was on the United States Pan Am Games, which was a very necessary games for the team of the United States to win, because they were having an abysmal qualifying record for the 2016 Rio Olympics, and they needed to win this. He finished on his dressage score with Pancho Villa, finishing 4th, so it was another great finish for them. 2016 Olympics in Rio, he was riding Blackfoot Mystery. They finished 16th, which isn't exactly great, but he finished. It was just Phillip Dutton and Boyd that finished the event. And again, it just kind of shows the determination that Boyd has. Blackfoot Mystery was not an Olympic-ready horse, but Boyd needed to have him. Team USA needed Boyd on the team, and that was really the only horse at the moment that could really do it for him. Finished great, Blackfoot Mystery, he had some time on cross-country, but it was just, they made it through, and it didn't look all that difficult for them. They just took their time, and that was it. So, coming up now, we have the 2018 WEG. This is another green horse that Boyd's going to be riding in another very important competition for the United States. Luckily, they finished at this past Land Rover Kentucky event. They finished 11th with a 31.2 in dressage. It's a great prospect of a horse, to be able to score that low in the dressage, and for its first 4-star, finishing 11th is great. It's only going to get better, and I definitely think that these two have a pair and a type of chemistry that'll carry them for a while. And then 2017, at Fair Hill in their 3-star, they finished 3rd. They were just 4 seconds slow in cross country, but everything else was great. It was very surprising to see Tseterleg finish that well at Fair Hill. Fair Hill is known as the mini Kentucky for a reason. It's a very big competition. It's a very challenging competition. You need to have a great cross country horse for it, and that's exactly what Tseterleg is right now. Now, he's a very green horse, but he has shown potential to be a special horse and compete for a podium spot. Thomas, as Boyd in the barn likes to call him, he reminds me of Chamois a bit. The way that they're built, the boldness on cross country, and their dressage can compete with some of the best dressage horses in USA eventing. He has some bad days, so Boyd needs to make sure that he's able to get Thomas around and finish the event without any issues during the cross country phase. And he can have some time. He can have that, especially for this type of event. He just needs to go clean. That's really all that is important for this event for the United States, is just to go clean on cross country day. I definitely think that he's not quite qualified to be on a WEG team, but he's being ridden by the top ranked United States rider in the FEI rankings. Boyd's sitting at 8th right now. The United States team can't afford to not have Boyd on the team, and they're willing to gamble on him again like they did in Rio, And Boyd's been doing his job. He's been finishing these events, keeping the United States competitive. It's just the other riders around him just have sometimes fallen. Next, let's take a look at Lynn Symansky. She's riding Donner, who's been essentially like a lifelong partner of hers. Right now, currently, Lynn is the 9th ranked rider in the FEI. She was on the 2011 Pan Am's game, which again, like I said before, was the team necessary for the United States to qualify, at least for London at that point. Since David O'Connor has left the United States program, the team has kind of been struggling a little bit to find their identity and to find consistent riders that can also perform well in all 3 phases. But just to take a look at some of her more recent finishes, in 2018 she competed in Kentucky, again riding Donner. They had a 31.3 dressage score. They had 1 rail in show jumping, but if they finished on their dressage score, if they just didn't have that 1 rail because they went around double clean cross country, they would have finished second. You really can't beat that. She really needs to not have that rail in the final day, and she can keep those positions. In 2017, she competed in Burley. She got 6th. She had a 45.5 in dressage, which over in Europe, I feel like that the dressage scoring is a little bit tougher. And they had a rail and some time, but they finished 6th at Burley. Lynn is a fantastic rider. She can get those top 10 finishes against some of the best riders in the world. I definitely think that she can do that on her own home turf, where she usually performs pretty well at. So Lynn is a very talented rider for the U.S. and has been a top contender for national and international events for a while. Donner and Lynn have been a partner together for, just like I said before, pretty much like their entire lives. They have competed in 34 international events since 2010, and they have won 4 of them. And out of 8 of those 34 international events, there were 4 stars and 1 WEG team selection for the 2014 WEG. And she was the only other finisher on Team USA in that World Equestrian Games other than Boyd. It wasn't exactly a great finish, but again, she finished. She did her job. She went around, she had a refusal out on cross country, but she still made it to the final day. Now let's look at Lauren Kieffer. So she's riding for Vermiculus in this year's World Equestrian Games. But taking a look back a little bit, she was also on that pivotal team of the 2015 Pan Am Games. She was riding Meadowbrook Scarlet at the time, but again, she finished on her dressage score. She finished 7th. She was the final position to help lock down that gold medal position to get to Rio. But to take a little bit of a closer look here at Vermiculus instead, in 2018's Kentucky 4-star, she finished 5th. She had a 31.2 dressage score and just a little bit of time cross country. That's great. That's incredible. This is a young horse. Lauren is still a young rider, but she's been one of the greatest young talents in America, and she's been on team since 2015. She's been just at the top level of the United States for such a long time, and she's been able to produce for Vermiculus to be a fantastic horse. So what I also think, though, is Vermiculus is probably the least qualified horse on the team, but is being ridden by one of the best up-and-coming riders in the United States and probably even the world. And she'll be a staple for the team for years to come if she keeps this trajectory that she's on right now. Veronica, though, is Lauren Kieffer's direct reserve in case Vermiculus is not ready for the event or gets lame. But Veronica is definitely the most experienced horse that Lauren Kieffer has. They finished second at the 2016 and 2014 Kentucky 4-star. Just the results from Veronica don't always come through like they should. They're always a top contender, but they always have an issue in their consistency. But the fact that Lauren Kieffer is so determined on her cross country to go around clean, go around fast, that I think that she sometimes sacrifices a safe ride to prove how good she is, which I'm totally fine with. But at the same time, for team events, she needs to take a step back and think more about the team. You got to think in the 2016 Rio Olympics, again, we just need to finish a team. But she went through, was blazing through it. She was going really fast. She was going clean. It looked easy for them. And then they approached this one combination that was giving everyone lots of issues, which was basically just kind of like an angled gate with a very narrow jumping face, the way that the combination was laid out. And Veronica caught a leg on it, and they both went down. She was, the Team USA was sitting in great position to be a medaling team, and that risky ride, which again, I totally am for if you can pull it off, but it's a very risky play when we really needed someone to just finish. So she kind of had that mistake, but I definitely think that she's going to learn from it. This WEG like I said before, it's going to be at home. She's going to be a little more relaxed. It's not going to be quite as pressure-filled as the Olympics, so I definitely think that her head will be in the right place for this event and try to ride a little bit more team-oriented. Not saying that she's a selfish person, but I definitely think that her competitiveness gets in the way of team finishes. And lastly, let's talk about Marilyn Little, which is the controversial pick on the USEF team. It's not controversial because of her achievements or anything like that, but she has had a scandal with some blood in the horse's mouth in several events over the past few years, so her PR necessarily isn't exactly the best at the moment. But if we look purely at results, she is the best rider, and this is the best horse on the United States team. She's only ranked 33rd in the FEI, but that's only because she doesn't compete all that much. She also competes at international show jumping, which, like Michael Young does, she's able to focus on that very pivotal last day that can make or break you. And she was on some U.S. national teams for show jumping. She knows how to do it. And that's what helps cement her with some of these finishes. So in 2018's Kentucky 4-star, she finished third. She had 24.8 dressage and just some time on cross country. That's a great score. She's fantastic. And again, cemented by the fact that she went double clear on show jumping. In 2015, on that pivotal Pan Am team, she's the main reason that we won. She got first. She finished on a dressage score as well with a 40.3. Now, here's a fun fact about this horse, RF Scandalous. This horse has placed top 5 in 15 of their last 17 FEI events, winning 10 of those 17. This pair gets results. They win events. Despite her unwanted attention from the scandal that she's been getting, this pair will get you a top finish. And she is the main reason why the U.S. went to Rio in the first place. Marilyn might not win back the hearts of some United States eventing fans, but if she can help the U.S. deliver a team medal, and maybe even an individual one as well, and have a non-controversy filled event, then it would certainly help her case. And like I said before, her background in show jumping is what is helping her with these results. She's able to dissect a show jumping route like no one else. She is used to jumping much larger and much more technical courses than what is presented to her, even at the 4-star level of eventing. She's able to break it down, know what she has on her horse, and deliver you a top result. The show jumping phase is the weakest phase for the United States team, and she delivers clean show jumping rounds. She also delivers great dressage tests, which set her up for great positions going in the cross country where she can afford a few seconds over the time, but she goes clean. Then in that point, she's in great position, striking distance or even in the podium positions, and is just able to maintain it with a clear show jumping round, putting pressure on whoever would be in front of her. I really think that Marilyn Little is one of the dark horses of this event. If she can have a clean, beautiful ride like she normally delivers, like if she rides like she did in Kentucky, they will be fine. If they ride like they did in the Pan Am Games, granted, it's going to be tougher competition, they can do great things. They can help deliver the United States a team medal, which has been lacking for years. So this is not going to be your traditional World Equestrian Games for the sport of eventing. Tryon is probably one of the most beautiful facilities in equestrian sport, but it lacks a true cross-country course. This year's WEG is going to be determined by who can finish without any issues on that phase. The United States is coming up to the 2018 World Equestrian Games with some glaringly poor international team results. Other than the 2015 Pan Am, since David O'Connor was on the team, they have never medaled other than that. It's been very poor. Since the majority of these top events in the world are over in Europe, the United States has to travel. That takes a lot out of a horse, it takes a lot out of a rider, and I definitely think by having the home field advantage where all these European riders are going to have to come to America, keep their horses here for a while, be exhausted with the jet lag. Having a lot of travel is not easy on just a person. I can't imagine what it's like on a horse and what it has to do with their competitive results, but the United States are going to have that advantage. And like I said before, the United States' biggest competition in terms of other countries are going to be Germany, Great Britain, and France. Now, the teams haven't been announced yet, but just think about this. Great Britain has the top 3 spots currently in the FEI rankings. Oliver Townend right now is leading the pack of everyone with just barely missing out on the Rolex Grand Slam. Germany's a powerhouse. Not only do you have Michael Young, but you also have Ingrid Klimke and a few other very talented riders. I definitely think that this World Equestrian Games is going to be very interesting. It was supposed to be in Canada, up in Bromont, but due to some issues there. It's now held at Tryon. It's going to be a very interesting competition. I definitely think that the cross-country phase is going to shake up. You might have to eat some time, but if you can go clean, if you can go double clear cross-country there, you'll be sitting very pretty when it comes to the show jumping phase, which is going to be a huge atmosphere. The ring is almost built like a football stadium where like you're down in a bowl. It's going to be a lot of atmosphere for some of these horses. So I definitely think that, it's going to be about keeping these horses calm through such a crazy atmosphere. Everything is so close to Tryon. And the seating, there's not a bad seat in the house for the show jumping, which is also going to be where the dressage is going to be, most likely. But it's definitely going to be an interesting event. And as other teams are being announced, we'll definitely be looking at those riders, those teams, and giving them a breakdown as well. Please give me some feedback on what else that you'd like to hear. This channel is going to be brand new, and there's a lot of great things I want to talk about in the future. I really want to be able to break down these riders, these horses, these competitions, and be able to kind of give a little bit of a perspective on what's going on here. Hope you guys enjoy.